This is the outside of a Russian podest, or entryway. People come and go throughout the day. Some leave in the morning to go to work for the day. Others are returning home from who knows where, but enjoying the fact that they are home and like where they're living, including the podest. Wasn't always this way for most. The podest was a dreaded place, basically an obstacle between arriving home and entering into your apartment. Here's an exaggerated memory from me, what it was like coming up to my podest. Russia, then and now. Yeah, hi, this is Mark from An American in Russia. You'll have to excuse me, the sun is kind of streaming down at my eyes right now, but hey, things can't always be perfect. Uh, so, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to we're going to finish with our talk on the Russian podest. I'm going to kind of call it like a part two, because I started last week with the Russian podest. And I'm sorry, but last week made everything seem very, very negative because it was all then, in 2001. And it was negative back then, I'm not going to lie, in my opinion. But today I have one quick story to tell about back then, and then I'm going to talk about now. Come on with me, and let's talk about Russian podest. In about 2008, my oldest son was coming to Russia for a visit. He was going to come and stay with my family and I. And of course, I wanted to show him around. It was his first time he was ever in Russia. Actually, the first time anyone in my family was ever in Russia. So it was important because, like anyone else who lives here, you want to show the country in the most favorable light. You wanted people to go back with good memories. I had to sit there first and think a little bit about what things I found strange when I first came here, what things struck me as a little weird, what things may have scared me, which is rather hard for me because men of my generation were not taught how to just deal with their feelings, value their feelings, and blah, 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 talk about their feelings forever, and I still don't. So it was hard for me to think back, but I did. And I thought back at that time, this was 2008, and I said, you know, the first thing I saw that regular tourists don't see when they come to Russia was the Russian podest. And yes, it did strike me. It was a little bit shocking in some respects, a little bit scary in other respects. So yeah, let me think about, in 2008, my family and I, we had an apartment in a 5-story building without an elevator. It's an older style building here, maybe 45 years old at that time. Now, this was 2008, mind you, it wasn't 2001. And podests had improved dramatically during this period of time. For example, mine was clean. It was kept clean. It had lots of windows, so it was kind of bright. It was nice. Compared to a 2001 podest, there's no comparison. And remember, Westerners, podest means like apartment entryway, how you get into your apartment building. I thought, okay, my podest is pretty good. Nothing really to scare my son there. And I started thinking of other little things, but everything seemed like it would be fine. About 3 days before my son arrived, I was walking down the stairs and the smell of raw sewage hit me. It was like walking into a wall of stink. Because what happened is, down in the basement of my podest, one of the sewage lines had broken and was spilling out raw human sewage. For Russians, you'd know this, the sewage line is like kanalization. And this scared me because I knew how slow they could be to repair these things. And I knew it wouldn't be fixed before my son got there. Well, the day arrives. My son comes. It still stinks. It stinks from the ground as soon as you open the door of the podest until you get up to about the 3rd floor. We lived on the 4th, so I was okay as far as that went. I picked my son up at the airport, and I've got whole stories about his airplane there, our ride from the airport, lots of different things, but I'm going to save them for some other time. We both arrived at the front, right in front of my podest of the 5-story building. We got out of the car. He had a big suitcase and he had a carry-on, piece of carry-on luggage. So I said, listen, this is how it's going to go down. I had already warned him in the car that there was a stink. I'm going to open the door. You're going to run as fast as you can and don't breathe until you get to the 3rd floor. Then you can let out your breath and breathe. He says, oh my God, that sounds terrible. What about you, Dad? You got the big bag. How are you going to run? I said, I'm not going to run. I said, these things don't affect me anymore. I've been here long enough. I'll live. I can breathe normally. So that's what we did. I got up to the 3rd floor where he was panting a little bit. We went up one more floor to the 4th floor, opened the door to my apartment, opened the door, and yes, he experienced that Russian Podest wonderland. As I opened the door, the apartment looked so nice compared to the Podest. And mind you, this is a 2008 Podest, a lot better than a 2001 Podest, but there's still a hell of a contrast. They're still not perfect, trust me. Well, that's my little story about my son visiting in, as it relates to the Podest. Okay, now let's fast forward in time until today. While there's still some old entryways or stairways in apartment buildings here in Russia, things have changed dramatically. There are so many new buildings, and these podiests, the entryways, are designed completely different. You go in, there's not some little tiny elevator. There's elevators on either side. There's new, unburnt mailboxes there. And many of the newer buildings have like a corridor, and the apartments are doors off the corridor. Everything is well marked. For the most part, it's kept very clean, and I'm sure there's some exceptions, but as a rule, this has been my experience here, although I no longer live in an apartment. In the area of the city where I live now, it did not even exist in the year 2001. It's the northern part of the city. All of it has been built since then. It's all mixed housing, lots of new apartment buildings, lots of single family homes. In a minute, I'm going to swing the camera around and let you see it. I'm going to do that right now. Always construction going on, always new apartments and different places being built. You can see all the cranes there, many, a whole new complex that didn't exist even 5 years ago when I came here. Then over this way, you can see the beginning of single family homes, which go on for quite a while, several kilometers. Nice tree lined streets, single family homes. You can see nice big school behind there called the Skolkova School. Then if I turn over here, this is just part of a sports complex. There are several big sports complexes here, and this is just one of them. And again, all apartment buildings over there, basically everywhere that you can see. I'll just finish my little spin around. We stayed in this apartment building when we first came looking for a house here. Okay, you just did a little tour around the part of the city where I'm at. Even the elevators now in the buildings, when I ride in one of the elevators, they're modern looking, they look fine, and I don't feel as if it's one or two big gorillas up on the roof turning a big crank to get you up or to put you back down again. Everything is smooth, everything is nice, nice quiet elevators. We're about done now with the Podest. I do want to mention one last thing, and it's Podest related. And this has to do with when I arrived in 2001, the doors, the door leading from the Podest into a Russian apartment. Well, the door where I was living, first it was a big metal door, thick metal, looked homemade. I don't mean crappy, but look rugged. That metal door had two different locks on it. Two different locks required two different keys. So you, another one, turn, open the door. And in here, it's another door now. It's a wooden door, but it's a door. That one has another lock on it with another key. So you open that one. You open up the door, and now you're inside the apartment. Also, I understand the thing with the doors and all the locks was because of the lawless days of the 1990s. First time I came in the door of our apartment here in Russia with the double doors and everything else, metal, it reminded me of a film that starred, it was made in the 1990s, starred Mel Gibson and Julia Roberts. It was called Conspiracy Theory. In this film, Mel Gibson played this guy consumed with, quote, conspiracy theories, though they weren't, very paranoid and always thinking people are following him, etc., etc. He gets to his apartment, shuts the door, and in the movie it shows him locking. It's got 4 different locks on that door that he locks. Now, as an American, this was very funny because you've never seen a door with 4 locks on it. It must have been stranger for a Russian watching this film the first time, wondering why other people are laughing at that when when to a Russian this seemed like a perfectly normal thing. But anyhow, things have changed. The door locks now are different. It's not 5 or 6 different locks on your door. That's the end of speaking about the Russian put yes. I promise. And next week, I hope to have another video, a new video for you. But until that time, пока.